Hi, today I'd like to talk about Latin America. Latin America includes Mexico, Central America, Caribbean islands, and South America. Now on the map, you have Mexico here. Central America between the two. The Caribbean islands are in the Caribbean Sea, right here. And of course, from here down is South America. Let's first of all, well, the reason why it's called Latin America is because most of the languages spoken here derive from Latin. So that's why it's called Latin America. And the two primary languages spoken here are Spanish and Portuguese. Both of which, of course, derive from Latin. So this is Latin America. Hey, let's first talk about Mexico. Mexico has two major mountain ranges and they share the same name. Both mountain ranges are called Sierra Madre. And one is right here and the other is right here. Now the one to the right on the map is called Sierra Madre Oriental. It's on near the eastern coast. And the one to the left on the map is called Sierra Madre Occidental. So we have Oriental East and Occidental, kind of an interesting name, West. Now, in between the two mountain ranges is a big plateau, and you can see that there's this high area right between that is the plateau. It's kind of like a mountain chopped off. This plateau is where the deserts are. The Mexican deserts are generally above and in between the Sierra Madre Mountains, Occidental and Oriental. The capital, I'm sorry, before I get to the capital, this whole country is often plagued with earthquake activity and even volcanic activity. The capital of Mexico is Mexico City. It is down near the south, kind of in the vicinity of where I put the dot right there. Mexico City is the second largest populated city in the world. One thing Mexico City is noted for is its pollution. Pollution's really bad there. There are mountains literally surrounding the city on almost all sides. And as a result, when you get pollutants like car exhaust and you have so many millions of people there, the mountains just kind of trap all that in. The city is also on a drained lake bed, and the soil there is still soft. And that makes the effects of all those earthquakes even worse. Now let's talk a little bit about Central America, this area right in here, between Mexico and South America. This Central American area is about 900 miles. Looks like a fairly short area, but it's really a long way. 900 miles, and it's mostly mountains. You can't really tell from here, but like 80% of this is mountains and hills. This area has over 40 volcanoes, and the most active volcanoes in all of the Americas, North and South America, are going to be right in this little stretch of Central America. And they have many earthquakes also. Let's touch a little bit on the Caribbean islands here. They are, of course, east of Central America. Some are actually volcanic islands that are sticking up out of the ocean. One exception is the Bahamas. The Bahamas are actually made more of coral reefs. but they were coral reefs that have actually grown up and over a volcanic island. So it kind of all started as a volcanic island there. Now to touch a little bit on South America. South America, the prominent geological feature there are these Andes Mountains. These are the mountains that go all up and down the western coast. These Andes Mountains are about 5,000 miles from top to bottom. And you know, you can go from the bottom of South America up the Andes Mountains, go up through all this mountainous area here, up through the mountainous Sierra Madres, up through the Rocky Mountains, and you can be in Rocky Mountains in Canada, all the way from the southern tip of South America all the way up to Alaska. You can be in mountains if you take that path. It's just mountainous the whole way there. Just to the east of the Andes are some plains called the Pampas. The Pampas. Oh, don't know why I'm writing this up here. Happens to be right there. Andes Mountains, and just to the right of them on the map is the Pampas. Now, several rivers begin in these Andes Mountains, but the one that is just by far the largest is the Amazon River. The Amazon River is in the vicinity right here. Amazon River. Now the Amazon River has more water in it than any river on earth. There's another river, the Nile, which is probably longer, but as far as sheer amount of water, the Amazon River has it beat. It is over 4,000 miles of river. 4,000 miles of river. And it has over 1,000 tributaries. I don't know if you know what a tributary is or not. I'll write it down here. A tributary are smaller rivers and streams that flow into the larger river. Now the Amazon here is in Brazil, but the tributaries extend so far it includes 4 different other countries just in the tributaries. Now, one thing, we're not really touching very heavy on all of these countries just yet, but one thing that is a big concern in Brazil and around the Amazon is deforestation. Deforestation is the cutting away of the forest, and it's a big concern in the Amazon. There, of course, are positive sides. The positive side of the deforestation is that you get more timber, and there's a demand for timber. Big demand for timber. And it also gives space for cattle ranches. Okay, the negatives is what a lot of people focus on. The rainforest around the Amazon River is so huge, has so many plants, so many trees, that it really provides a big source of oxygen. You know, trees give off oxygen. We take in oxygen. We give off carbon dioxide, which the trees take in. So there's that symbiotic relationship between humans and trees. And if you cut down a bunch of this forest, that's going to cut the Earth's oxygen supply to the Earth. And as a result, some scientists are thinking that that it's contributing to global warming. Run out of space there. Another negative, of course, is that it may squeeze out animals and native people from the rainforest.
You're going to have some spaghetti too? Aww.
You can hear my family talking in the background. Well, anyway, the final thing we want to talk about is climate. Much of Latin America is in the tropics, and the tropics are the area close to the equator. In fact, the equator is, about right here. So much of this area is near the equator, which of course going to mean it's very hot almost the entire time, even in the winter in most cases. Now, there are exceptions. You can actually see on this map snow on the top of these mountains, and there's actually mountains near the equator here, which are which have snow on top of it. But just for the most part, it's going to be hot in most areas of Latin America. In some years, there's something called El Nino, which affects Latin America a lot. El Nino, you may have heard of. It's kind of a scientific definition. There are these winds which come from the tropics which blow that way. And the reason they blow that way south of the equator is because of the turn of the earth. And it's consistent that you have winds blowing that way, winds blowing that way, winds blowing that way. However, whenever these winds are not blowing that way as hard, whenever they kind of die down, that allows water and moisture to come in more from the Pacific. And those are years of El Nino, and it really hits South and Central America with a lot of rain in those years. You have a lot of flooding when you have El Nino. Hey, why don't we look at answering some of these questions here. I'm going to copy this, go to here, go to another page. I don't guess I can do that. I'm still learning a little bit on this this stuff here, so I'm going to erase a bunch of things here. Okay, just as a review, what can you tell me? What do you remember as part of Latin America? Talking about the reason why why it's called Latin America. Do you remember that? What can you tell me about Mexico? We know that the Sierra Madre are the main two mountain ranges, but do you remember what those two were called? Where would you find the deserts in Mexico? What is the capital city of Mexico? What is a bad, or why is pollution a bad problem there? And the lake bed and the soft soil in that city makes what worse? About Central America, what can you tell me about it? How many miles long it is? What it's mostly made of? What about the Caribbean islands here? Most of them are made from what? Rising from the ocean floor. What about South America? You remember the name of those mountains which go up the west coast? What about the plains that are just to the east of that mountain range? Can you tell me the name of that big river, that huge river that's there? What about its tributaries? And what are the pluses and minuses of the deforestation of the rainforest around that river? Also, can you tell me a little bit about the climate? And can you tell me the basics of how El Nino affects Latin America? Well, I hope you've learned a little bit about Latin America.